Hi guys, this is the channel for XRP Insider. The market is somewhat declining when I film this video, but don't worry if the price of XRP or any other currency you're interested in has dropped by the time you watch. Regarding the long term or the big picture, none of the analysts I follow are worried that this market cycle won't continue to be very strong until it reaches a final peak with euphoric euphoria in the not too distant future. It will arrive. What occurs in the short term is more of an issue, and if you're interested in that and want to get specific, I'll be sharing some viewpoints from several reliable sources here. Since we are our own worst enemies when it comes to cryptocurrency investing, it is worthwhile to keep up with this stuff, even if, like me, you only hodl and are not a trader. That way, if the price drops, you won't be able to react adversely on an emotional level. You will likely be the one to completely screw this up. You know, it's probably going to be you. Data indicates that those who simply have broad exposure to the market and hold for however long it takes, they hold, are the ones who actually win, not traders or people who get cute with their positions, this and that. This is because people panic sell, they FOMO into things, and there are other human psychology factors that make markets what they are. The rally is coming though. As a matter of fact, I will share with you the opinions of several XRP chart analysts. One of them states, it'll lead to a violent rally, to put it simply. What do you know? Don't you think I disbelieve it at all? XRP is somewhat lower at $2.78. The market as a whole is down. Though it's a sea of crimson, this scene isn't really striking. What is Bitcoin down to? $110,511. This is nothing out of the ordinary. Check out this post from Sentiment, an on-chain analytics company. This post was made at 3:56 p.m. around 4 hours ago, Central Time. Here, they're not particularly worried. I think Sentiment is fantastic. They are very data-driven and constantly do outstanding work. Here's what Sentiment had to say about it. Over the last 2 weeks, a significant bullish divergence has been developing. Since August 22nd, the market value of Bitcoin has decreased by 5.9%. Since August 22nd, the S&P 500 has increased by 0.4%. Since August 22nd, gold has increased by 5.5%. Since early 2022, there has been a particularly strong correlation between cryptocurrencies and stocks as institutional investors have increased their exposure to them in addition to their stock holdings. Bitcoin and altcoins, which would include XRP, my friends, have a significant likelihood of playing catch-up when they lag behind global economic price trends for an extended period of time, as seen by the divergence over the last 2 weeks. Folks, did you hear that? That's the reality. That doesn't guarantee what will occur in this situation. When XRP, alts, and Bitcoin all lag behind these other things, you eventually see catch-up, and in a huge way. That's simply saying, hey, we've seen tons of scenarios like this. They then write, the larger the gap between equities and Bitcoin, the stronger the argument there is for an upcoming crypto bounce. This is accurate since there is a clear correlation between the stock market and cryptocurrency if you simply zoom out over a very long period of time. Naturally, what happens historically, if you observe that the stock market and stocks operate in that manner, and if you do not observe the same thing in the near future for Bitcoin, XRP, and the altcoin market. In fact, you play catch-up. This is why I'm telling you that, in my humble view, it doesn't matter if the market is down to whatever extent at the time you're reading this. It simply isn't important. People are affected by that kind of thing, and they will reply that they will engage in the market in ways that they would consider after they have the advantage of hindsight. That's a pretty serious instance of dumbassery, I think. I don't get cute with the market because it could happen. I simply win by hodling. That's all. Why is the cryptocurrency I've invested in throughout the years worth so much more than I put in? I'm not a wizard of any kind. I'm no expert in finance. What a ridiculous name. But here I am, doing absolutely nothing and earning money that will change my life. I've been buying over the years and holding since 2017, and the longer I hold, the more value it gains. Although I bring exposure, it doesn't mean that everything I purchase will be extremely valuable in the future. It concerns the entire cryptocurrency portfolio, with a particular emphasis on large and possibly mid-cap stocks. I do own some minor stocks, but it comes with a far larger risk and I don't rely on them to provide the game-changing element of my cryptocurrency fortune. I simply am not. At this point in the game, large cryptocurrency caps are more than enough. Are big caps going to make you wealthy in cryptocurrency in decades? No, since by then they will contain too much money, but you are really lucky. Congratulations if you're reading this in 2025. Because there is so little money in these things, you can actually become absurdly wealthy by investing in cryptocurrency these days. The market's lack of liquidity is the reason behind this. This is the reason for the opportunity. This is a post by Dom, a chart analyst. He claims that a $108,000 decline in Bitcoin might be the first setback of the entire cycle. You can already see that he is displaying a chart that dates back to the end of 2022, if you are gazing at the screen. In actuality, it concerns the latter part of 2022. He explains, I always love to think of an uptrend as a staircase. Do you ever take a step back while you're heading upstairs? The same may be said for structure. There's no reason to back down. It does not preclude the market from falling at any time. That's not his point of contention. Examine the levels of support and resistance he mentions. He's demonstrating that after a major barrier is broken, it returns to test as support. After all these years, it doesn't simply fall through there and then continue upward, though that's okay. That is the point he is trying to make here. $108,000 is cited by him as a crucial amount. I follow other analysts, and they were discussing $105,000. Perhaps that's simply a point of contention between us. In any case, he is suggesting that level here. We are essentially at that critical support level, he notes. Will that level of support turn back into resistance? I hope not. You see, that's why analysts like Crypto Insight UK, Credible Crypto, and the blockchain backer have mentioned the $105,000 mark for Bitcoin. Because of this, the blockchain backer stated that we should begin to seriously contemplate the possibility that Bitcoin may reach its peak if we fall below $105,000. The good news is that even if that occurs, we can still have an environment where altcoins like XRP run wild. It won't ruin anything for us, but it would definitely increase the amount of money that rotates into XRP and everything else before this thing is over. Here's a post from Credible Crypto with a Bitcoin USD chart. He states, "I'm just watching our last swing low at $108,400 right now. As if we breach that, we probably go for the range lows at $107,200, which, if you recall, is where I am interested in considering a long opportunity." He does hodl, but now he's talking about trading. Don't panic if it's lower by the time you're watching this, he says. And if we can hold above $108,400, there is a chance we get another push to the upside, along with another higher low and potential for continuation to the liquidity resting above at $117,000, depending on how things go. Additionally, there's a chance it might rise, and I am aware that's for those who don't appreciate the importance of chart analysis. In other words, it might rise, fall, or remain sideways. Oh, all right, thanks. And then they'll make fun of it as if that will help. They're saying more than that. They establish particular guidelines. Certain things are more likely to occur if specific things happen, so when you simplify it that way, you're essentially being a midwit. Here, that is not the case. This report from Swissblock, an on-chain analytics company, states that Bitcoin is breaking out from the critical zone. A straight slide to $100,000 was never the base case. Up until now, the wall has stood. There is resistance at the 113,600 to 115,600 gate, which is located above. Following a decline, the price needs new momentum to overcome it before facing strong opposition up to $118,000 in price. That level is really similar to what Credible Crypto is discussing. That is fascinating, isn't it? Thus, it is acknowledged that humans may soon be able to reach that range. No one is certain. The purpose of chart analysis is not to do that. You're not entirely sure. It has to do with the likelihood of events. Additionally, it seems like everyone loses when average people like me, and hopefully you don't trade. Almost all traders experience a loss of capital. We can help control our emotions because, let me tell you, if you watch cryptocurrency every day like I do, you need to maintain your sanity. You're more likely to feel emotions, stress, and make poor financial decisions if you're caught off guard. If you know that certain negative things could happen, you're like, okay, well, I knew that was certainly a possibility, no big deal. Okay, this is a chart that Crypto Wizard gave of XRP/BTC. He answered simply, let it break. It loves a pattern. The triangle created by XRP and Bitcoin is symmetrical. This will trigger a furious surge that will push XRP to $3.65 once it breaks. He's demonstrating how the trading range for XRP on this pair has been getting smaller ever since XRP reached a new all-time high on the XRP-USD pair in July, proving that patience pays off. Thus, the chart is displayed in this manner. This is XRP-BTC, not XRP-USD. However, it has continued to get narrower here. Additionally, the fork is likely to break out as it strikes the peak. What direction do you believe it will go? Even if Bitcoin makes one final parabolic jump, which I believe is more likely than not, we are still in a bull market. Therefore, I'm going to venture a guess. Even yet, I continue to believe that XRP will significantly surpass it. I don't think that's a question. This is one of the two posts I received from Crypto Insight UK. The first one was from the early hours of the day. The second one was taken this morning. What time is it now? 3:45 a.m. in the center. According to him, XRP/ETH retracted yesterday after hitting the first important level on the daily. I want to point out that the volume of the retrace was much lower than it was the day before. On this chart, I'm still really hooked. It is among the most significant charts for XRP, in my opinion. It preceded XRP's most recent growth. On the 4-hour, I'm looking for confirmation of a structure shift. Additionally, he has been discussing XRP and ETH a lot. Approaching. This is the second update for today. The time is 9:56 a.m. in the center. Therefore, it was only 10 hours ago. He added that the 4-hour XRP/ETH chart was showing good volume. Let's see if we can continue to reach this high and try to tackle our next important region of interest above, although nothing has been verified as of yet. This should provide us with a more encouraging indication of a trend reversal back to the upward direction. Therefore, regardless of the charts they are examining, analysts consistently tell me that we are at a point in time when we might actually start exploding to the upside at any moment. Naturally, they and I both agree that you might see a little bit lower at first, but it's thrilling because we're getting really close. You will not consolidate on any chart indefinitely. Something will happen eventually. I therefore have the mindset that regardless of what occurs, I will always be exposed to the crypto asset class because it is growing in size over time. That's how you succeed with cryptocurrency. This is a post by Malleus, a chart analyst. Although he is discussing Ethereum here, I find it intriguing to discuss this in light of what it might mean for XRP. Thus, this post was made at 2:04 p.m. today. It's new stuff since it's central. After the last impulse, we now have only one red weekly candle, and people are already losing patience. He adds, with this higher time frame chart on Ethereum, I would like to present you a bigger picture so you don't lose hope on lower time frames, meaning the short term, but rather focus on higher time frames, meaning the big picture. Following the initial impulse, the weekly WTO recently saw the first bearish cross, with the RSI reversing in a region akin to the last cycle. To make the comparison visible, I have indicated the zone in blue. In the meantime, the structure remains mostly unchanged. Guys, this is bullish since the EMA 50 is currently at its highest point ever. Therefore, don't be fooled by the commotion. Nothing structurally wrong with that, even if we go further down and possibly go back and look at demand clusters in green. This cycle, I anticipate 5-figure ETH, and I'm sure of it. It's actually rather popular to forecast that Ethereum will hit, even if it peaks there at about $10,000. No one considers that to be especially buck wild. That's not buck wild, but I'm not sure if it will hit or not. Depending on who you ask, that appears to be a very conservative, if not sensible, price projection. And the reason is easy to comprehend. That is, after all, only about a twofold increase from Ethereum's peak price a few years ago. Nothing spectacular, simply a 2x from one high to the next. Undoubtedly, there is sufficient market capitalization to enable such an event. Therefore, if XRP matches that market cap when Ethereum is at $10,000, that would put XRP at more than $20. This is because XRP has historically fought with Ethereum for the number 2 spot in market cap at crucial points, particularly before the SEC artificially suppressed the price of XRP before the lawsuit in 2017 and 2018. It's not insane stuff. XRP is no longer active. It's trying to catch up. It is the top performing coin among the top 100 since the November election, for this reason, among many others. Now you may ask, but Malleus, is it necessary that we chop for some more weeks or even correct lower? He asks, but the answer is no. We might soon grind high after cutting in a bull flag. I'm demonstrating to you that, should it occur, there would be nothing wrong with it, so you wouldn't be surprised. That's what I keep saying, people. All you have to know is that it's not the end of the world if the worst happens. However, I keep seeing that acknowledged, so perhaps we will grind higher soon. With the information provided in the charts, it's not always possible to know. It's okay when credible chart experts say, I don't know, it could go either way, as this is sometimes the correct response. This would only happen if first demand clusters lost on Bitcoin, he continues, indicating that while the market is not yet prepared for fun, it is still on the horizon. He explains, this was part of our weekly market update on his Patreon, Discord, and so on. Next up is this from Zoom, a chart analyst. These things shatter unexpectedly like XRP, and this is a chart of XRP/USD. According to him, the $3.15 zone is the first resistance if it is broken upward. It should move quickly to the $2.50 to $2.60 range to sweep liquidity if XRP breaks below, but that would simply encourage it to move higher. Do not be misled though, I am really optimistic about the high time frame. There's more, and I've seen a lot of analyst material lately. It might drop a little, but there's nothing to be afraid of. This type of thing occurs with cryptocurrency. It wouldn't be unusual. To be clear, that has nothing to do with the fundamentals of XRP. Additionally, XRP will be a powerful player in a robust market as long as the fundamentals remain solid. That's all. The foundations of XRP are stronger now than they have ever been. The idea that now is the time, that everything is dead, that it's over, that it's done, just doesn't make sense. That is completely illogical. That cannot possibly be occurring. Absolutely no possibility. This is an article from Greg Crypto. I didn't get it today, but he says, XRP update number 1. We need XRP to close above $2.85. Second, it's important to close above $2.90. 3. A crucial range is between $3.07 and $3.13. The following move can be facilitated by a big volume and strong closing above it, but I'm feeling worried about the inconsistent candle closures above $2.85. And I'm telling you, my friends, I'm seeing a lot of posts that acknowledge that, hey, this isn't the strongest, or hey, we could go to these levels. I just showed you what the chart analyst Zoom had to say about that. Indeed. Here's another illustration. According to chart expert Ali Martinez, XRP has to maintain its $2.70 support. If it does not, $2.35 would be the next target. As a result, I'll let the chart analyst argue over what the likely lower level is if support is lost, and so on. However, the recurrent theme is evident here. It is acknowledged that we may be dropping first, and that XRP is not the only thing causing this. That isn't even remotely likely, in my opinion. If XRP drops that much, it's most likely because Bitcoin and the market as a whole both declined. Even near the end of a bull run, this is normal cryptocurrency. There's nothing to be alarmed about. Then, Ripple Van Winkle's contribution. This isn't a rebound, he claims, adding, XRP has been coiling for 7 years. You don't consolidate for nearly a decade just to break out by 10 cents. A complete repricing event is taking place. Liftoff is screaming on the chart. Everything changes in October. We'll see what the timeline looks like, I guess. However, I've conveyed a message a lot like that over the years. Specifically, it has been modest ever since XRP reached its peak, or even began to move in that direction following the election. I don't believe that XRP was artificially suppressed for that long. It consolidated for over 10 years simply to rise slightly above its all-time high, and then say, okay, I'm done here. This is going to melt faces before it's over, in my opinion. My base case is that. That's what I really think. And like everyone else, I'll be disappointed if it doesn't. However, I strongly think that's the most likely scenario. Therefore, I'm here regardless of what occurs. And in the end, I believe that a move in the right direction will be what counts. I do not provide financial advice. Nothing I write or say should influence you to buy or sell anything. That is a really, really awful idea.